Welcome to my review of the Tacx Neo, Tacx Neo Smart Trainer. So we'll start with the looks. It's a badass looking piece of kit. Wouldn't look out of place in something like Terminator or Star Wars. That really sold it to me. It was the first turbo trainer that I thought, you know, this wouldn't look out of place on its own, sort of thing. You can see it's got little lights showing here. Connectivity lights, which we'll come on to in a tick. But also the other thing, I think probably the main thing that sold it to me, was the effort lights that you get. So when you're actually pedalling the turbo, you get neons that come on. Look at that. Yes, effort lights I like to call them. So that when you're pedaling really hard, it goes like a dark pink colour. Really like that. Nice touch, didn't need to do it, but certainly shows you, it just makes it look even more futuristic. That's also reflected in the charger. The charger's got a little blue light as well. That's probably normal, but I really like it. You can see it's plugged in through the back. You don't need to plug it in to use it though. If, let's say, you're away in a hotel room and not that you probably wouldn't have power, but in the back of an RV or camper van, something like that, you wanted to set it up just to warm up, you can still use it. You can run it off your Garmin, which is quite clever. The Garmin can actually control this, the new breed of smart trainers. And I had a little trouble actually connecting the Tacx via the new 820 which I've got. And what I found in the end was I just took the home screen and I pressed on where it usually says calories, held on that, and then scrolled down to power, and boom, there was my wattage, which was really useful. If we're talking about connectivity, ANT+, Bluetooth, all supported via the Tacx Neo. I guess ANT+ and Bluetooth are the two that I'm most experienced with and know the most about. I sync the Tacx Neo up to my iPhone if I'm doing a Sufferfest via Bluetooth, and that way I can control the resistance through the phone, which is quite a cool touch. You can do it through the Garmin. I haven't explored that just yet. I'm usually quite lazy. I've got it in terms of setting the resistance, I've got it hooked up to Zwift at the moment, and so Zwift does control the resistance for me. And I really like that. It just takes any thinking out of it. You know, you're riding up a hill, it gets harder. You're riding down the hill. If you've got it plugged in, if you're riding down the hill, it will increase the speed to replicate you going downhill. And if you don't have it plugged in, that won't happen. You can see I've got it connected to the laptop via an ANT+ dongle. And just a little bit, I've actually got it hooked up to the TV by an HDMI lead, better picture quality, and I'm using an Ethernet cable to connect it to the internet as well. I was just getting a few dropouts with the wireless, probably due to our server more than anything else, but it's just going to avoid that really annoying Wi-Fi dropout in the middle of a workout. Talking of connectivity, I suppose we should look at connecting the bike to the turbo. Now you've got to be a little bit careful with this, because I don't know whether you can see it here because the light's not particularly great, but it does sit offset in the frame. So slightly off to one side, yeah, you can see that there. Now on some frames this will run really close to the point that it won't actually fit. So if you go onto Tacx's website, they do actually have a template that you can put in or cut out that will actually tell you if the Neo fits your bike. Definitely worthwhile checking first. It's also a direct drive trainer, so you will need to buy a cassette for it. This isn't a cheap unit, I must admit, and that's going to be another thing you're going to have to add on. The free hub body that you mount the cassette to is pretty clever. It will take Campag or Shimano cassettes, so you don't have to buy one or the other. The one thing to bear in mind though is that the lock ring that they use uses the Campag specific tool, not the Shimano one. So do make sure you've got the right tool before you mount the cassette on. Mounting the bike to it is fairly straightforward, but you do have to make sure that it's sat properly on the dropouts. I've had a few times where I've just been in a bit of rush to stick it on, maybe for a warm down or something, and it's just sat slightly offset. And in my opinion, that could damage the unit, certainly bend your QR or affect your dropout. It folds up really nicely as well, and so if you're short of space, then these two sort of wings, if you like, fold up against each edge of the unit, and it stores away really nicely. One of the things, again, I bought it for, I was getting a lot of grief from the neighbours for making the turbo trainer making a bit of noise. I probably made a bit of a noise as well. So I bought this one because it's billed as silent, but it's not actually silent. You can see I've got it on the missus's yoga mat here, and I've also got it on a towel. I sweat like an absolute bad boy, so I kind of need that. Goes all over the place. Nice. And I've done this because there is a bit of a vibration noise to it, and I found that the yoga mat does just helps to quieten that down. Don't get me wrong, it's a very quiet turbo trainer, but I disagree with the statement silent. It's not silent, it does make some noise. I just think if you had it upstairs in a flat somewhere on a wooden floor, I do think that the people downstairs would hear it. It is a criticism, yeah. I don't think there's much that they can do about it, but don't bill it as silent, I would say. The other things that I've found with the Tacx, yeah, the cost, as I mentioned, is probably one of the things that would put you off it. But if you compare it to something like the new Magnum that's coming out, and that is nowhere near, you'd probably make you think that this is a cheap turbo trainer. And I love the smart aspect of it. I've been told as well that the Garmin has all the data it would need to again to power the unit, but not only power the unit. If you use the Tacx software, you could also re-ride your, let's say, your commute into work, and it would control the elevation, and it would make it feel exactly the same. And you could sync it into Google Maps, and kind of ride Google Street View, and do your ride to work inside. I mean, some would say you should just go outside, and that's probably cheaper, Julian, but yeah, you're not going to get rained on inside, I guess. And if the weather is particularly crap outside, I'm certainly looking, as it gets into the darker months, to be spending a lot more time on this. So to sum up, expensive, check it fits your bike, cool lights, and a very technological piece of kit.